It's an interesting thing to grow up in a place where you know this is where you are from, but you're not fully accepted.
Our communities are being criminalized, they're detained and deported.
You know, I get those calls and they're saying, I can't believe this is happening. What can we do something?
And we are tired. We want to come out of the shadows.
This is really the moment.
I think without question, the movement for immigration reform is bigger, stronger, and louder than it's ever been, and certainly more diverse. You have labor unions working hand in hand with business. You have law enforcement working with community groups. You can go to events and you can see conservative evangelicals working hand in hand with gay rights groups.
It just goes to show you how important they are to our economy when you can have the Chamber of Commerce and the National AFL-CIO sit down at the same table and basically come up with an agreement.
As a result of these very harsh laws and policies that we've seen lately, I think that's one of the reasons we're seeing, such a diverse group of folks come together, rallying for comprehensive immigration reform.
Every immigrant wave that has happened in our country has just made us stronger.
Our view has been informed from the earliest Hebrew expression of that. When Moses led the people out of Egypt, he reminded them, don't oppress the foreigners, because you once were foreigners, and now show love for the foreigners.
It just makes sense. As Republicans, I think we always look at the Republican Party as being fiscally responsible and doing what's right from an economic standpoint. Well, from an economic standpoint, if you're looking at immigration as being a problem, it should be more of a solution. What's the best way to do that? But to have someone who is legally documented, who is contributing, who is a part of our society.
Employers steal their wages, threaten to report them or deport them if they speak up on the job. So yes, there's a lot of exploitation that goes on with immigrant workers in this country today.
When we met this guy, the agreement was that my husband was gonna do line maintenance around his house. He had a really large house. We learned that the house was not an ordinary house, that it was a business. He had like a hotel or a bed and breakfast place. He started demanding unbelievable amounts of hours a day with no pay at all. It was a whole nightmare. We couldn't leave. We were very scared of this person because he kept repeating of his connections, of the fact that he could wipe us off with a phone call. He owed us a lot of money. Well, I'm legal, we are legal, thanks to Americans for Justice and the amazing job that the lawyers did. This organization gave life to us again. My personal belief is that all survivors, all of us, have a great spiritual debt with this organization. We must contribute as much as we can. Now we can spell the word freedom.
Right now, thanks to Congress, approximately 34,000 immigrants have to be locked up every day. These are immigrants who are being locked up simply because they don't have legal status in the United States of America.
Me fui huyendo de mi país porque temía que me iban a matar.
I walked through the desert for 2 days trying to get freedom. I was desperate to get to the hospital because I'm diabetic, and I went 2 days without food and water. When I saw Border Patrol officers, I showed them my insulin and syringes, but the officers threw them out. I was put in 3 different cells. It was so cold, you could see your breath. Officers called the cells the hieleras. I spent 13 days there. I slept on the cement floor without even a blanket. It was so crowded, I couldn't stretch out my arms and legs. The lights are never turned off. The first day, I got a fever, but the officers did nothing to help me. On my second day, I fainted on a pile of dirty toilet paper by the only toilet in the cell, which is in plain view for everyone to see. I was handcuffed and taken to the hospital. I saw many pregnant women there and many children.
I remember it was an afternoon, I was coming from school, one of those regular afternoons, and I was out there playing with my friends. They was doing jump rope and stuff, And then like all of a sudden I heard like this kind of noise. I just looked at everybody and it was on the floor like crying and stuff. I didn't know what was going on at the time, you know, until I found out it was an earthquake. I started asking about my mom, but then I never had got no answer after that.
So can you imagine, Berlin was just hanging out in the street, trying to figure out where his adults were, where the adults in his lives were. And finally he came to realize that his mom was in the home, his aunt was in the home, and they were not coming out. So Berlin was really left to fend for himself.
It was like being abandoned. It was a hard time for me, but you know, I never got a chance to see her a lot, so now I became a motherless and fatherless at the same time. When I first met the AI Justice, they was telling me like what was gonna start to happen. That I was gonna start being adopted, and I was gonna become an American citizen. So you know, I started feeling excellent and happy and excited. You know, I feel like you know I could accomplish something. I have a freedom to believe, like do what was my main goal in life.
And now he's living happily with his adopted family.
Ermo Williams and James Williams.
There's so much disinformation about immigrants. There's so many myths. And so what we try to do is say, this is the myth, this is the reality, this is the fact.
When my mother got sick, she had no other option but to send me to the United States to live with this older sister of mine. She's 10 years older than I am. I learned English very fast, went to high school, had many accolades, and then that was the beginning of a bunch of lies that I had to tell because I was afraid to tell people about my immigration status. So I told everyone that I just didn't want to get a license. Then when I graduated from high school and couldn't go to college, I told everybody that I wanted to work and that I was in school material, even though I obviously was. I remember the very first day I came here and then I said, we're gonna walk from Miami to DC. Cheryl said, no, you're crazy, you should not, you're gonna get killed. And then she said, I can get you out of jail, but I cannot resurrect you. They decided to support us. And I think that is the most important part about this entire journey that I have taken with AI Justice.
And may your dreams be realized.
We changed the country. The country is not the same. The whole concept of undocumented and unafraid did not exist until the trail.
This is really one of the greatest gifts that we've ever gotten, is landing in this country, right? This is why I'm so passionate about this country. This is why I so defend it. And I think it's very important for them to understand that what makes us great is this incredible acceptance. And this immigration, it's the foundation of our country since the beginning of our country, right?
If a decent bill doesn't pass, we're going to redouble our efforts to try to ensure that happens. We'll work harder than ever. We're certainly not going to give up. There's way too much at stake. Lives are at stake, actually, and frankly, you know, the interests of the United States of America are at stake.